Hi, this is Danielle Anvik, and this is my Heacox top 3 from the text. So the first chapter I wanted to focus on was planning for challenge and variety. Tips from the book that I really liked from that chapter were that challenge does not mean more work. And I think oftentimes teachers, when students get done, because they are accelerated, they just give them more things to do. And that doesn't always work well for them. They get very bored and often don't want to do it. And that's sometimes when you get behaviors from some of those higher students. All students need opportunities to work at all levels. The higher students need to sometimes bring it back to the basics, whereas sometimes the students at a lower level need that challenge. They can really excel in certain areas when given the opportunity. Remember blooms. That's something, now I'm 11 years into teaching, and sometimes that gets put to the wayside just because I don't always think about it, so just this has been a good refresher. And then to offer variety for all students. So my goals would be to cut back on work for students who have mastered a concept. And by mastered, that means that the students have shown me through doing a few, usually 3 to 4 math problems, like on a little quiz, that they understand that concept or that target, and get those questions right. If they can do that through the pre-assessment and a mastery check, then they can be skipping some of that work, the worksheets I usually have them do in the Khan Academy, and I've been working on that, but I hope to improve on that as I go this next school year. Before starting a math unit, look at how Bloom's and multiple intelligences fit in. I think that would be really good to look at the scales that we're reviewed in this course, and see how I can change things up a little bit. And I try to already offer variety, just I have project-based units as well as just the videos, worksheets, Khan Academy, so maybe giving them a couple choices they need to do rather than doing all of one thing. I also enjoyed the chapter about grading, making sure you have clear expectations. Not everything needs to be graded, and that is something I'm really working on. I just always like to check in, and sometimes for me I teach all of the 5th grade math, so 70 students, and it gets to be a lot of checking. So letting go of some of the control. I don't need to check everything, so that was good to read in there. Leveled grading, and then giving feedback to students, and I really would like to improve on doing that faster. So some of my goals would be to make sure I set clear expectations of how the math units and assessments work. We're changing them up a little bit for this next school year. As the students complete a target, they will take one of the mastery checks, which will be their actual assessment. And they can do a mastery check A. If they don't pass that, then they will do some review and some group work with me, and then they can do mastery check B in hopes to get that assessment score up. Letting go of some of that control that has to do with the grading, because through the mastery checks I will know if they understand the concept or not. Mastery checks, and then I'm working to use Seesaw more as an assessment tool, and giving feedback through that. It's very instant, and I can grade their work anywhere, as long as I have internet connection. And then my last one was managing differentiation, and that is very challenging for me just because I have so many students and try to differentiate. I find that I get very overwhelmed with managing it, because all of my students, or a variety of my students, they can learn at their own pace. So I might have somebody on step 6 or target 6, and I might have somebody that's on target 2 and somebody on target 4, and so just being able to keep up with all those different points that students are at. So tips that the chapter gave were to work, just do small steps. So I'm going to start with my first unit and see how that goes and make changes. Know your students and how they learn. Communicate with your class, so talk about variety, expectations, volume, arrangement of class, routines, guidelines, and then communicate with families. So I think my goals would be to manage my time, and that kind of goes along with the grading. Lose some of that control. Don't spend my time grading so much as giving feedback to students and working with them. Seesaw, that has to do with communication, not only with my students, seeing how they did, but parents can be on there and get feedback of how their student is doing in class. And they can see it on their phone. I see it for my daughter for her first grade class. So I think that's really helpful for parents. Pick one thing to focus on per unit, and then be clear and concise and consistent. I think I'm very good at that to begin the school year, and I kind of fizzle out as the year goes on and get busy. So I would like to, refresh at the beginning of each unit and make sure that I'm staying on target. So I thought that the text was really good and a good refresher, and I wish I would have, maybe taken this in August right before school starts again, so I would be right where I needed to be. But hopefully I'll review all this before the next school year starts.